Hey everybody, welcome to back to my channel. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do a little narration of a In the Cockpit flight series here today, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. We're going to go to some of my usual places, so sit back, relax, and let me narrate In the Cockpit video. My usual disclaimer: I am not a flight instructor. I know nothing about flight instruction. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. This is just how I do it. Throttle goes forward, tail comes up, nose comes up just like that. Get up to 60 miles an hour, off comes the single notch of flaps. I'll do a climb out, and probably about 1,000 foot a minute. I level it out, and then I pull back to get about a 1,500, 2,000 foot a minute climb rate. We're departing 3 Mike Yankee, that's Mount Holly Airport in Peoria, Illinois. Correcting for a little bit of a right crosswind there before I turn into the sun and watch this beautiful sunrise over the Illinois River. One of my usual stops is my friend Marlin's very nice grass strip near Spring Bay, Illinois. And those of you who watch my previous videos, you can still hear my little hum. More videos on that to come in the future. As I line up with the runway here, pull a notch or 2 notches of flaps, kind of slowing it down, kind of getting a stabilized approach coming up. Coming in over the end of the runway at about 55 miles an hour, I pull up into a flare, into a 3-point landing, full stall landing with that. Keep it pulling back, keep the tail on the ground. Pulling around for a takeoff in the opposite direction since there really isn't any wind down here in the valley. Lining it up, creeping up so I get it straight down the runway. Pulling down a notch of flaps, fuel pump comes on, prop is full forward. Forward goes the throttle, and on goes the smoke. Off the ground, 60 miles an hour, flaps come up. Do a little crop duster pass with the smoke on, saying hi to my friend Marlin, who's usually sitting out on his deck drinking a cup of coffee. I pulled the throttle back, a little less power. Now as I start my climb, checking the flaps are up, advancing the throttle forward as I pull up in about a 2,000 foot a minute climb. Turning that smoke off, don't want to use all of it. It's about $5 worth of smoke that I just poured out the back of the plane. And as I climb up, and then I start to level out. Next stop, Tri-County Airport near Yates City, Illinois. Another one of my friends, Dave Shipley, owns this. A couple years ago, got best privately owned airport in Illinois. Really nice airport. Kind of holding a little bit of a stabilized approach, trying to get her down to about 60 miles an hour for this portion of the final. Short final, I'll bring it back to about 55 miles an hour. Kind of holding that stabilized approach and my speed coming in over the end of the runway. Pulling back into the flare, and doing a wheel landing. So tail stays up, we had the mains touch, flaps go up. Uh-oh, what did I do? Forgot to turn my fuel pump on for that landing. Takeoff. Get it lined up just right. Do an announcement telling everybody that I'm departing the runway. Checking my prop is full fine. Fuel pump goes on. Wig-wag lights are on. 1 notch of flaps. Throttle comes forward. Tail comes up. Nose comes up. Level it out. 60 miles an hour. Flaps come up. Keep that throttle forward. Pull up into a climb. Correct for a little crosswind. Make sure that it stays on line with the runway. And we're going to check traffic, check for turning, staying in the pattern here. Swinging around here, we got some group of snow goose hunters down the field. Flip my smoke system on to say hi to them. I'm sure they would probably shoot me if they could. Swinging around, turning base to final, getting the runway in sight, making sure nobody's coming in another direction, reducing the power of the throttle there, slowing the airplane down, turning into final, doing a notch of flaps, 2 notches of flaps, stabilizing that approach. Trying to hit 60 right about here. 3rd notch of flaps comes in. Dragging it down a little bit. Trying to get it down to about 55 or so, right over the end of the fence. Coming in for a wheel landing. I'm going to touch the wheels. I'm going to push the nose forward. Come forward on the throttle, kind of keep it in that wheel landing attitude there. Put it back to 1 notch of flaps, and I'm going to drive it down the runway with the tail up. It's always a great exercise. Keeping it straight, hitting the throttle forward. Up comes the airplane. Take up the notch of flaps and keep on going. Throttle comes back a little bit, fuel pump goes off, lean it out, turn the wig-wag lights off. Coming into another friend of mine's beautiful little grass strip near Elmira, Illinois. Dave Jackson, Jackson International. Not a lot of international flights flying into here. Coming in over the trees, landing to the west. Pulling the 1st notch of flaps, coming up on the power just a little bit, correcting for a little bit of a crosswind, making sure I don't hit the top of the trees. Come back in the power a little bit, 2nd notch, 3rd notch of flaps. Coming down, the runway's a little uneven, has a slope over to the right. Touching down on the left wheel to compensate for the slope, a little bit of a wheel landing. Holding that right wheel off a little bit. And then the plane will settle and you'll see we have a little bit of a camber to the runway here. Turn it around, turn the wigwag lights off, turn my fuel pump off. And I always like to turn it uphill. Swinging back to take off to the west. Get it all lined up. Fuel pump goes on, wigwag goes on, the prop is full forward, and a notch of flaps. Slide that throttle forward, feel that fuel injected engine kick in, and off it comes. Take out the notch of flaps, making sure we've got the throttle full forward, and pull up into about a 1,500, 2,000 foot a minute climb. Coming into another one of my favorites, a crop duster strip near Princeville, Illinois. This one's great because there's nothing but empty fields around it. There is a wire on the west end, so if you're landing to the east you have to come over the wire. There's no wires or anything other than an occasional bit of corn stalk here. A little bit of a slip, a little throttle coming forward, trying to get that right in. And we're going to do a 3-point because the ground's a little soft here. Back, back, get that tail all the way back. There it is. Flaps go up. Swing it back around to take off. Make sure that prop is full forward. Fuel pump is on, first notch of flaps. And we're going to take off in a 3-point attitude because it's a little soft. A little bit of a left crosswind, flying itself off. And there goes the first notch of flaps all the way up. Pull back on the throttle just a little bit and start my turn. Coming back around. Turning base, kind of a short base final. Pull back on the power. First notch of flaps, second notch of flaps. And we go into a little bit of a slipping turn here, kind of lose some speed and some altitude. There's a little slip going on right there, kind of coming down. Going to kind of intersect our shadow as we come down into final. Coming across at about 50-55 miles an hour here into another 3-point landing because it's a little soft and a little deeper grass. Pull that stick all the way back. Stop the airplane, a little brake action, and turn it around and taxi on back for another takeoff. Taking off to the west again, getting it all lined up, getting the notch of flaps in, making sure the prop's full forward, fuel pump's on, throttle comes forward, let it fly itself off in the soft grass. Flaps go up, and we'll do a climb out. Headed back south to Peoria, Illinois, Mount Holly Airport. Overflying the runway so I can intersect a downwind for runway 18. I'll be landing in the grass beside the runway just to save some wear and tear on the tires. Mount Holly Airport sits underneath the shelf of Peoria International Airport, which is a Class Charlie airspace. Our pattern altitude is 1,800 feet MSL, and the base of the Class Charlie starts at 2,000 foot MSL. So the overhead approach here is my preferred way of landing to the south at Mount Holly. And coming up to the end of the paved runway, the grass, I land a little bit longer, about a third of the way down the runway, pulling the first notch, second notch of flaps. And we land to the right of the paved runway in the grass, which is the runway safety area. Coming up on the throttle a little bit, kind of dragging it across this hump. You can see that hump to the right. I'm landing just beyond that hump there, because then it becomes level right about here, and it'd be nice to stop before the access road. A little bit of a right crosswind, not a whole lot. Pulling it down into a 3-point because the grass is a little long and a little soft on that side of the runway. Stopping the airplane, looking out for the runway taxi lights. Pulling up to the fuel pump, put some gas in it. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to some more videos coming up in the near future. I'll be talking a little bit about my hum. Hopefully I find a solution to it.